Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGaming.com video, I want to tackle a rumour that's been circling about concerning Mass Effect 4. Now, the rumour is pretty simple, that it was going to be an exclusive title to the Xbox One. It was ambiguous whether exclusive to the Xbox One meant not on any other platform, or whether we're eventually going to see a PC release, or whether it was going to be like a delayed release and eventually, after a period of exclusivity, it would appear on, say, the PlayStation 4 as well as PC and other consoles. However, according to the developers, this is not the case. This is a rumour. I'm going to take you through the Twitter, and effectively a chap on there asked, just heard a rumour for the next Mass Effect game is an Xbox One exclusive or a timed exclusive. Thoughts? And he asked Michael Gamble this very question. And since Michael is the producer of the game, you would assume he would have a relatively good insight. And he said it's just a rumour, which doesn't 100% deny it, admittedly. In other words, you could say something's a rumour and it doesn't necessarily mean it's not true, but it's looking to be unlikely. Michael does, however, say, during a milestone review, he said, and I quote, "Yes, this does feel like Mass Effect, which is a good thing." Now, I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. I'm actually kind of a Mass Effect whore. I love the universe, I love the music, I love the cutscenes, I love the atmosphere, I love the characters, I love everything about it. I just think it's fantastic. I even quite like Mass Effect 3's ending before the patch, and I'm probably one of like the 3 people on the planet that do. Admittedly, post-patch it was better because it was provided a bit more closure. So I would have been surprised if it had been exclusive to the Xbox One. I wouldn't necessarily think it would be something that Microsoft could secure. It probably would be, theoretically, but it would cost them a hell of a lot of money to do so. Then again, exclusives, timed exclusives, you're starting to see where it's on the PlayStation 4 and on PC, but not on Xbox One, or it's on the Xbox One and it's going to come to the PC, but not the PlayStation 4. At least it's ambiguous whether it's going to come to the PlayStation 4. Now, none of that's particularly unique, none of that is particularly surprising, and none of it is particularly, well, a shock in the gaming industry. Exclusives are a big subject. In other words, some people are cool with them, and other people hate them. The basic principle, of course, is simple. Why would you buy a PlayStation 4? Why would you buy an Xbox One? Why would you have a PC? Why would you buy the next Nintendo console as well if the games are all available on each of them? And of course, realistically, you don't really have, Sony don't have enough studios under their umbrella, Microsoft don't have enough studios under their umbrella to produce enough games to where they can't also have to, for lack of a better word, and it's a bit of a dirty word, but bribe other companies. And that's why, of course, you get exclusive timed pieces of DLC, or exclusive pieces of DLC, or pre-order bonuses, or what have you. And I don't necessarily think it's the best way to go about things. But at the same time, there's very little that some can argue. I mean, the whole PlayStation 4 and, of course, Street Fighter 5 is a bit of a thing as well. I mean, Street Fighter 5, a lot of Xbox One owners are quite upset about it, and I don't really blame them, to be totally honest, because let's face it, they're going to be missing out on a pretty good game. But hopefully, swings and roundabouts, theoretically anyway, the ideal situation, as ideal in this scenario anyway, the ideal situation is that you get a counterbalance. So yes, you miss out on game A, but the Xbox, gets game B. So it's kind of like balances out over time. And to be totally honest with you, back even in the day, we're talking, say, the SNES, Genesis era, there were a hell of a lot of exclusives on both, and we're not just talking Sonic and Mario here. If you look through a lot of the titles, pretty much exclusively, and I, of course, go a little bit, exclusive is a bit of a strong word, but primarily exclusively, Square Enix used to produce all of the titles for the, pretty much all of them actually, for the SNES, and Konami released most of the Castlevanias on the Genesis. So anyway, moving back to the subject matter at hand, which is Mass Effect 4, I would prefer it to come out on all consoles, to be totally honest, but I'm going to play it on the PC anyway, so as long as it's a good PC port, / cross fingers. Anyway, I just wanted to cover this one because people are panicking. A lot of people, I had a couple of people write to me and ask me about, do I think the rumour is true, and I just kind of missed the boat, to be honest, so I figured I'd actually report the update rather than the original rumour. So at least we can take some solace in that, at least theoretically. Having one of those days, I think it's because my brain is fried from yesterday while I was looking at the Xbox One SDK, so do check that out if you've not already done so. Of course, while I go through all of the various bits and bobs, including memory bandwidth, amount of RAM that's available for games, the operating system, the dual graphics systems, and God knows what else. So do check that video out if you've not. It's currently, he says he almost drops his own microphone, which is about as professional as you can get. That is, well, technically I more dragged the microphone off the desk with my foot, which is even more pro. I didn't realise somehow my foot had become encapsulated in the wire. So do check that out if you so desire. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'm going to get going and leave you to it. In case you're wondering regarding the update for the remainder of the SDK stuff, there's probably going to be 1 to 2 more videos on it. Unsure how much more I want to cover. There's a couple of bits that I have a feeling are going to be pains in the butt, and by which I mean that they're going to take an inordinate amount of research on my part to do. And that's probably going to mean that in conjunction with the fact that if I have to do a lot of research, typically that means I have to write a lot to actually explain it, because here's how it basically works. If it's quite complicated for me to learn, it's most likely complicated to explain. It's not always the case, of course, but it generally is. So I don't want to just put the stuff down, then no one will be able to understand it unless you do the same research as I did. So I'd prefer to actually put that information down and break it down. So it's possible there's going to be 2 more parts. I would like to go through the Xbox Live deployment and kind of the online structure, as well as audio processing, compute, and some other bits and bobs that are pretty critical and crucial. And if possible, I'd like to draw some comparisons and maybe figure out what we can use from that to, how can I put it, transfer to the PlayStation 4 in terms of learning what it possibly has under the hood. Anyway, I've extended this a bit too much, so I'm going to get going. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, my friends. Bye for now.